A smile from Iranian President Hassan Rouhani. Joyful handshakes after talks with world powers. These are the images Iran wants the world to see. But there are those who believe it's just a facade. A view bolstered again when the U.S. Treasury Department designated an Iran-based terrorist, Jafar al-Uzbeki, as a key al-Qaida facilitator, funneling a significant amount of money from Iran into Afghanistan and Pakistan. U.S. officials have also linked al-Uzbeki to Yassin al-Suri, head of al-Qaeda's Iran network, one of a handful of operatives identified in recent years responsible for getting al-Qaeda fighters into Syria. The apparent union of sorts between two opposing branches of Islam, Shiite Iran and Sunni al-Qaeda, is reason to worry for lawmakers like Adam Schiff on the House Intelligence Committee.
We see a relationship between Iran and al-Qaeda that at times is difficult to figure out because on the one hand they would be natural adversaries, but in that part of the world terrorism makes strange bedfellows.
Yet al-Qaeda-linked groups continue to target Iran, including an attack late last year on Tehran's embassy in Lebanon, killing 23 people, including a cultural attaché. Iran analyst Trita Parsi.
Ultimately, the enmity between Iran and al-Qaeda is almost deeper than the enmity between the United States and al-Qaeda. But Iran is stuck in the region, and as a result, sometimes it does strike small deals in order to actually protect itself or to advance its interests in other ways.
Yet the history between Iran and al-Qaeda goes back decades. Investigators looking at the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks on the U.S., pointing to discussions in Sudan between al-Qaeda and Iranian operatives in the early 1990s. There's also the deadly 1996 attack on Khobar Towers, a residential complex housing Americans in Saudi Arabia, and information suggesting Iran gave passage to the 9/11 hijackers. 9/11 Commission member and former CIA operative Mike Hurley was among those urging U.S. intelligence officials to investigate further.
I don't have a good sense, and I don't know that there has been kind of deep, active pursuit and investigation of that. I think it may be an area where the government has fallen down to some extent.
More recently, Canadian investigators tied a 2013 plot to derail a train to al-Qaeda in Iran, a charge Iran denies. Jonathan Schanzer at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies worries about what it all means for the ongoing nuclear negotiations between the U.S. and Iran.
Iran's playing three-dimensional chess. They continue to work with their natural allies, with their adversaries, and sometimes with their enemies. This is a very dangerous regime that we're playing with, and I don't believe we're playing on equal footing.
When questioned, State Department officials focus mainly on Iran's ties to Hezbollah. But a senior U.S. official says some of al-Qaeda's facilitators in Iran are, quote, operating with the knowledge of Iranian authorities. Though the official also says that doesn't mean Iran's necessarily aware of everything al-Qaeda is planning. Jeff Seldin, VOA News, Washington.